Hello, good morning, and welcome to the celebration space. My name is Kaylee Phelps, and today we're talking about creating candles sustainably. So I actually don't have you on my tripod yet. I'm running a little bit behind this morning, but I wanted to show y'all before I get on the tripod what we are making and what it kind of looks like. So that is what we're working with right now, and I'm gonna show you how I do this, how I recycle my candles and my candles wax. So we're gonna start from top to bottom and then hopefully be able to pour this out, and I can post and show you all the final product later. But so you can see what we have going on here. I'll show you what we have going on behind me. So this is my box where I keep all of my candle making materials. So you can see I have a bunch of stuff in here. We're gonna walk through things one by one. Just wanted to show you that so I can get that out of the way. I also wanted to show that you can add essential oils if you wanted to. This is my essential oil basket that I keep in my kitchen. So this is something I want to leave out as a reminder that you can add this. I'm actually using all recycled wax that was already scented, so I'm not going to be adding essential oils today, but if you are using plain wax, it's definitely something that you can do. Speaking of plain wax, if you just wanted to go for it, you don't have any kind of candles that you're recycling. I'll show you how I recycle my candles right here with a spoon in a minute. But if you're just looking to start from scratch and start making candles, I get this just from like a Joann Fabrics or like a Michael's or any kind of like art supply store. So it's just candle making wax. They actually have directions on the back of how to do this, but you can watch this video and also see how to do it. But you'll notice that this is a big block of wax. It's a little bit cheaper to get, and actually you're going to usually want, just so that it melts faster, you can see what my little concoction looks like. The more flaked it is, the faster it's going to melt and the easier it's going to be. Also, it's just going to be like a little bit less chunky, but you can definitely work with this and it works really great. If I were going in with plain wax, I would probably add those essential oils just for scent, or you can do a scentless candle, which you can use with this. And then also from the same stores, just to save on space, I showed you my little box. I have all of the materials that you need right here. So you're going to need wicks. One thing on the wax front, I believe that's paraffin wax. Soy wax is actually more sustainable, so I recommend doing soy wax. It's also going to burn longer. So that's something that I typically try to buy soy-based candles and soy-based wax, but I think that one's paraffin. We're not working with that today, but it is something to check out. So you're going to need these for the bottom of your candle to be able to sustain your wick. And then you're gonna need something, I use pencils to be able to keep it vertical. So I use this, and this is the candle that we're going to be making. So that's what these little guys are for, and I just take them out of the packaging so that I can save on some space, and I have this cute little thing that has all of my materials. And then when you are making the actual candle, you're going to need a cleaned out jar. I'll pick this up very gingerly and bring it to you. But you're going to need this. You can see that I have two pencils on top of it, and really people recommend, I've seen a bunch of different things on how to make candles online, which is totally up to you. I kind of do the quick and dirty version where I just use Scotch tape and scissors, but if you wanted to get a hot glue gun and try to put it at the bottom of the jar, that gets to be a little bit scary for me just because of a lot of things going on. But so I usually just use tape and scissors and just kind of dangle that around there. So that is really all the materials that you need. If you have older candles that you are working with, I'm going to show you what I was working with today. So while we're kind of waiting, I'm going to give this I'm just going to break this up in here a little bit since we still got some chunks. But anyway, we can use the same spoon. But so you can see I have this candle right here, and I already started kind of chipping away at it, but you'd be surprised with how much you can get out of a candle. That you can see I already have some little little chunks right here. So I'll actually add this to my little candle wax collector that I have going over here. It's not pretty, it's not cute, but you can see that this candle burnt out at the bottom. You can see the little wick holders are totally dead. So, but there's like a lot of wax still in here. Like, look, it's up to here. So I started doing this mostly because I felt like I was wasting a bunch of wax. I felt like I could recycle it. I wanted to reuse really pretty jars like this. And so I started, when my wicks ran out, using this little spoon method. There must be some actual tools that you can use. I'm gonna warn you that your spoons and what you're using, your pourer, is going to it's gonna have wax on it. So it's going to be kind of gross, but it's with a little bit of elbow grease and a lot of soap, you can definitely get it back to normal shape. So that's what this looks like as you're trying to chip away at it. I'm just gonna keep moving things out of the way. So at the bottom, you're going to see, so this is one that I've totally cleaned out. It's black, so you can't really tell. But there's going to be a wick at the bottom of it. So I really just chipped this off so that you can see that little shiny right there where it used to be. So I usually use a spoon for it too. A lot of times they don't come off too difficultly, but yeah, you can give it a try and see what you can get out. But yeah, then this is just trash, because this is where the wick used to be. You can see where it ended on the bottom and how it burnt out on the top. So that's what it looks like once you get all of the wax out of there. That's what the process looks like. And then this is the wax. I usually just store my old wax, my recycled wax, in its old jar or in another vessel. This one you can see is a lot of brown. So I'm choosing today to do I have a ton of wax and a ton of different jar glasses, or glass jars and containers. You are going to want to make sure that you're always using glass and something non-flammable or something not plastic that could melt. So since we're not professionals here, I would just always recommend using glass. And yeah, so that is what you're going to do and what this is going to look like. And then this is what you can pour directly into, I should have looked up the name of it, but it's like this glass pourer. We'll see if I can. And there's blowers going on in the background. But this is what it looks like. I'll get out my oven mitts. Actually, I'll just use this right here. But you can see that this is what it looks like. So it's just this little glass pourer, and you can just put it right in there, and then it's helpful so that you can kind of measure out where your wax is. I'm not particular about how much wax I have in there. I kind of just throw it in, and then it's always gonna melt down. It's always gonna look like you have more wax when it's cold, rather than when it's in a solid format rather than when it's in a liquid format. But that's really what it looks like, and you just boil water around it. So I typically like to use a pan like this, especially if it has a lower edge, but that did not fit this morning. So I think I lost a pan somewhere along the way, and so we're using this right here, and it's gonna work for us. So that is what we have. I'm just gonna break up some chunks right here just because I want to be able to show y'all the final process as we go. We have like one last little chunk to get through, and then it'll be good. So I'm just gonna put this over here, and the last thing we're gonna talk about, I apologize for all the blowers. They are right outside my apartment right now, and I'm gonna get out my oven mitt just so that I can be careful and not just use a towel. So the last thing that you're gonna wanna do with that tape, scissors, your wick holder, and your actual wick is you're going to want to tape that down to the bottom, or hot glue it, however you want to fasten it. For me, you try to get it as close to the center as possible. This is, of course, after you've cleaned out the jar already. And then I tape it on the bottom and I tape it on the top. So then I like to use pencils just because they are non-flammable. They are not going to, well, they're flammable, but they're not going to catch on fire with this hot wax. And it's also not going to melt something like a pen. You can also use something like chopsticks or something something that's any kind of two vertical things that are going to go across the top of your jar, and you're going to be able to secure them. You're gonna see I have a lot of Scotch tape. It's not meant to look pretty at this point. And then give yourself some extra room at the top where it's a long wick. You can, that whole string was all one big thing. So I just go all the way to the top. The fact of the matter is that your wax, when you're pouring it in, is probably gonna end somewhere in this range. So it's not gonna go all the way to the top. You are gonna waste a little bit of wick, but this is the safest way to do it, just to ensure that you are okay. And I have a little bit of Scotch tape kind of sticking out, so I'm just going to do this. And I just use I'm plentiful with my Scotch tape, just to be able to ensure that I have it everywhere. So that is all of the setup. That is, I've had this boiling for about, I'm gonna say 40 minutes now. So it's not a super quick process, but if you start boiling some water, you throw your wax in there, you can get everything else set up while you're doing it. Maybe turn on some music, maybe get some things done. I am going to use some other pencils that I keep in this little box just to push this down one last time before I get out. I'm gonna get out my other oven glove too, just to make sure that this is as secure as possible and just to be as safe as possible. And these are old oven mitts. If I get some wax on them, it's not a big deal, but definitely something to think about if you are particular about your oven mitts. So I think we're gonna go for it. I've never done this with an audience, so please no judgies if I mess up. But we're gonna go for it, and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like, and I'll post what the actual candle looks like once it's dry. I have some appointments today, so I'm going to put this somewhere that the cats can't mess with it and be really ginger. I normally like to do this, I wanted to do this in the kitchen, of course, so I'm not walking through, but I am going to let this sit for probably 20 minutes before I leave for my appointment, just so that it can be a little bit stable, and then I'll move it to the bathroom and shut the doors just so that the cats don't mess with it, and just so that nobody messes with it. But as much as possible when you're doing this, if you can leave them in a space and give it, I think people usually say it takes like 60 to 90 minutes for it to fill all the way through. I like to not mess with it until overnight, or at least a few hours, just because the more you mess with it, the more it's going to be unstable and it's going to burn unevenly. So let's go for it. And I'll show y'all. You can also see, if you wanted to, you could filter out some of the gunk. So you can see some of that gunk at the bottom of it, but then we're just going to pour it right in here. And you can see that the wax keeps everything at the bottom. And actually, I'm just going to, all the gunkies are kind of at the bottom here, so I'm just being ginger with how I do it. So you can see some of the gunkies at the bottom. And you know what, I'm just gonna do a little bit more. I am not too picky. This is a recycled candle. I am not buying this. This is all candle that I've already paid for. So this is really just me putting in the effort. I'm gonna turn off the oven, and you guys can see what this looks like. So all of that wax filled up. This is a pretty big candle, but all of that wax just went toward one little candle. So are you going to be able to make a bunch of candles out of recycled wax? No. But are you going to be sustainable with what you purchase? Are you going to make the most of your money? Are you going to get to reuse some fun containers? Are you going to have a fun little art project? And this is something that you can do with kids. I mean, as long as you keep them away from the oven, and you can have them help you set up everything, but you should actually be the person pouring it. It's actually a really fun process, and you can start it from scratch. You can recycle it. You can do whatever you want to do. But especially going into cozy season and the holiday season, I just wanted to show you all how to do this. I've mentioned it in a few videos, and I hope that it was kind of fun and helpful. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them below, and I'll be happy to answer them. And that's all I have for you. I'll post updates moving forward on our little candle friend that we made together. And until next time, enjoy celebrating today.